Cyber Warrior. This is Cyber Warrior Studios, and I know you were all here for another amazing episode of Security Happy Hour. And yes, this guest was last minute, but you knew the show was going to go on. So if you weren't here, that's your fault, because I do this live every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. But either way, look, I'm here. We're going to have an amazing show, a lot of great topics. So I'll be back in just a second. And we're back. And that's right. It is me, the Cyber Warrior. And hold on real quick. There it is. The official kickoff of Security Happy Hour. And with me this evening, I have Crypto Knight, who goes by some other names. I will let him give those names if he so chooses. Otherwise, thank you for joining us this evening.
Yeah, no worries. Happy to be here. Chilling in the backyard in the glorious sunshine in Central Ohio, and happy to contribute to community as always, because it's all about giving back.
And that's the biggest thing, and that's why I do this show. It's all about giving back to the community and making sure, new people get to understand and kind of get their voice heard, especially for newer people that are trying to break in. So it is very vital that a lot of the information that we give out on this show benefits them. So first and foremost, why don't you give a little bit of introduction about yourself, because you have been in the field for a while, so you'll be able to give them kind of life experience and people can actually understand why you know your shit.
Yeah. Well, the gray in my beard is not a mask that I'm wearing. It is legitimately earned. Been doing security full time since 2000, mostly Fortune 500 stuff, a whole lot of architecture, security and identity, journey to cloud kind of stuff. And before that, I was a developer and doing a whole lot of client server stuff. And I said, hey, we got client slash server. Nobody does the slash, which is networking. So I'm going to focus on data center operations, et cetera. So did a lot of networking, server installs, whole lot of screwdriver work, fantastic stuff. And I just played the field a lot across security, and now it's awesome because I get to do full time security and identity strategy is mostly what I do. Although I do play like in tangential spaces like BYOD and making that happen. Like I said, journey to cloud, helping some companies get there. So it's a lot of fun. And along the way, I started acquiring some certifications and got actually was on a project with a guy who was on the board of directors of ISC2. And I had seen the letter that came out when they first launched. I was like, oh, that's so cool. But at that point, there were like 2 exams a year, and I can't afford to fly to California and blah, blah, blah. And he said, well, why don't you come help us develop our certification? So I did. Long story short, a couple years later, through a whole lot of volunteering and whatnot, I found myself on the board of directors of ISC2. Um, Started there to add some governance, to add some to the ethics program they already had and take it further, etc., and to establish term limits. And then I termed out because I added term limits, and I came back later, and now I'm on the board of directors. The ISC2 just voted to do what I originally planned. Yes, good for the organization, good for the industry, bad for me, uh, which is hard stop term limit, 6 years, done for life. And so a year and a half from now, I'm out, having successfully pulled the ripcord to say, yeah, term limits are a healthy thing. Let's do that. And it's been a really cool trip, man. I've seen a lot of cool stuff. Probably my biggest, coolest thing that I ever got to do, I was the security uh, architect and technologist that did SAML for the first time in the real world. That was like in late 2001. We went live, I think January 6th of 2002 ish, like right around there. So yeah, 21 years ago, first SAML in the real world ever, and that was really freaking cool. Got to do a lot of fun stuff with Federation and helping organizations solve this whole security challenge around identity, and led to a pretty cool trip from that on. So yeah, I've had a lot of fun, um, and I found a profession that I would totally do for free, but don't tell my employer because I need to. I want to get paid. Don't tell them how much fun I'm having, because oh my gosh, I would do this for free, but I got 2 kids in college. I need to make tuition payments. So
and and that's the big thing, right? You never work a day in your life if you love what you do.
that's it. That is it. I actually talked with one of my profs when I was in school. We were like locked out of a room having a chit chat, and he said the kind of same thing. He said, "Don't tell the university how much fun I'm having, because they'll stop paying me. Because if they stop paying me, I'd still show up and do what I'm doing today." And when you can find the intersection of what you love, what they will pay you to do, what you're good at. I didn't figure out the fourth one until I was 32. What is aligned with your mission.
Yeah.
That that is, oh my gosh, it's so good. So good. Because I woke up and I was working at BMW Financial Services, great company, but I'm not slandering them, because please don't sue me, but they kind of exist to be able to help people afford BMWs they normally couldn't afford, so their neighbors can look and see the BMW in their driveway. And that is so far from feeding starving children. And I was like, oh, I need to switch industries, because this is not missional.
Yeah,
And
that's huge.
it
It's
is.
huge.
It is alignment with whatever your mission. I can't tell you what your mission is, but whatever your mission is, that's enormous. And the position that cybersecurity occupies is a position of trust, to be able to protect economies and people, the innocent, the disadvantaged, and be able to enable missions to be successful. It's pretty rewarding work.
It is, especially if you get into, the right area. And so this leads us into like the future state, though. This is one of the things I want to discuss, because we see a lot now of consulting firms, MSSPs, MSPs, all these different things, right, that provide security for a lot of different organizations. Their whole premise is to secure as many companies as possible, which is great on the inside. If you don't agree with, say, one of the corporations that you're dealing with, because you have to secure them, right? That's your job. That is your mission. That is what you're supposed to do while you're there. How can you, come to terms with the two in the future state? Because I see a lot of organizations dropping their security people, and so the only
Hmm.
jobs left are going to
Yeah.
be these consulting and MSSP firms.
It was really interesting. I don't know if I have permission to mention my current employer, but yeah. Anyway, I won't go there. But because Google works, so you can figure it out. So when I interviewed for them, and my anniversary came up, my 2-year anniversary was like 2 weeks ago. So
Yeah.
um, a lot of the questions I asked them were on values and ethics.
Hmm.
And they were a little surprised at that. But I really loved the conversations I had, and found out about what their values were. And I said, like, hey, what companies won't you work for? They said, huh, nobody ever really asked us that question before. Not that they don't have ethics, but that is like they hadn't structured it that way. And if somebody came along and go like, hey, we're Hezbollah, help us secure our stuff, they'd probably say no, but they hadn't really like thought about it at that level.
Right.
Folks had. They reached out after, oh yeah, we actually have a list. I'm like going, I mean, I'm not saying this is the right list, but you could list out gambling, liquor, pornography. I mean,
Right.
what at what level are you going to say not for us? A buddy of mine was with cryptography research, um, with Paul Kocher, and like side channel analysis, really cool shit. And they decided as a company, CRI, and what an influencer in the business. Holy crap! Um, in the early days, they said, "Hey, what are we not going to do?" And there was a lot of money to be had in the late 90s, early 2000s with protecting pornography, right?
Yeah.
But they said, no, not for us. We'll we'll have a discussion if something else comes up, but we're just going to stay. And I applaud them for that. They just said, like, that's just not who we want to be. And the notion of being able to express your ethics in a way, of being able to state yin yang, super important. So a discussion of values, and I found this. I started doing this a couple of years back, and I encourage those of you listening in to have that discussion. And when you're interviewing, let's talk about your values and your culture and what you hold dear, and what's that bright white line you're not going to cross, and what do you say yes, all in, done, done, done. Let me know that, because if you are in a corporation that's not aligned to your values, every day is going to suck. Um,
That's an
yeah.
interesting concept because a lot of people, especially for those just breaking in, are just trying to get hired. They're not
Mhm.
thinking of the values of the organization. They are thinking of what's going to pay my bills, what's going to get me into the
Right.
field, what's
Right.
going to do what I need to do.
Hmm.
And so from a standpoint of ethics, I think that is something we lack is holding true to our ethics.
Yes. Do you
So
have a
so
compass?
so with
Yeah.
that, why don't you let people know kind of what are your ethics when you're looking at things, or kind of how do you view ethics here within cybersecurity?
Yeah. Yeah. So, kind of the backstory here is, I have been serving on the ISC squared board of ethics, or the ethics committee, as it's formally called. It's actually this has a different name, but professional practices. But essentially, it's the ethics committee, for I think 11 of the last 16 years, in one way or another. And how this works out is one of two ways. Um, is either a member will formally raise an ethical allegation against another for an ethics violation, which thankfully, and may it always be so, is rare. Um, or which has a lot more, is there's a questionnaire when you sign up, um, to the ISU squared to go off and take, one of the many certifications. Of course, the flagship being the CISSP. And when you sign up for that, it asks you if you've ever been convicted of a crime, amongst the many other questions it asks, or if you have, and forgive me, I should have this memorized, but I don't. Uh, it's something like, basically, uh, if you have had a dishonorable discharge, if you've lost your license to practice as an attorney, been disbarred, that kind of thing, and disclose that. And because of the popularity of ISC squared, which is just skyrocketed the last 2 years, um, there are quite a few of those cases where somebody comes forward and they made an unfortunate decision years past, and it's everything from got caught with a joint 27 years ago to almost anything you can think of that somebody would serve time for, like drive-bys, child rape, arson. I mean, the whole nine yards. Because you're talking about, um, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people that would like to have this certification signing up for it. And anytime you take a population of hundreds and hundreds of thousands around the world, you're going to have a population of felonies that get brought into it. And you go like, not for you. No, yin out. And a lot of what the work they do is to decide, is this something that would bar you from holding the certification of being in the community, or would not? Forgive me for the backstory. Kind of had to go there to get through this, but that is one of the big things that frames my moral compass. Right? Is a duty to society, uh, a duty to my principal who pays me, right? A duty to the profession, right? And those that code of canons, every word being very carefully chosen. I encourage you to go out and look for yourself at the IC squared code of ethics. Anybody can look it up and see it. Is pretty well considered, and it's a pretty good compass. What it doesn't specifically call out, it's alluded to. I go a little more formally there. It is, at least when I last looked, is in the ISSA code of ethics, and it's in a couple other certifications I hold. Is it specifically calls out not raising false alarm or false comfort, and it's buried within the IS's code of ethics, but not called out explicitly. And those are two really important concepts, that you're not saying sky is falling, this will take us down, or everything just fine here, these are not the droids you're looking for, go away. Either of which are completely deplorable, because we as cybersecurity professionals hold a particular trust. Just as you trust an attorney to interpret law, you trust an accountant to interpret tax code and help you keep out of trouble with your finances. Organizations trust us, and I literally have quit 3 jobs over ethics, which is probably, I'm way out there Six Sigma, and that, and, like that's pretty far out in the bell curve. But I have a few times been asked to either provide false comfort or false alarm, and I've raised the issue, and unfortunately keep being dissatisfied with the answers I get from Office of Ethics, etc. And Bill Murray was one of the founders of ISC Squared, not the actor. Has the same name as the famous Bill Murray, but he's the guy who basically drove the program to deliver Rack F in the mainframe and came up with a practice. Um, ISACA calls him the father of IT audit, which is like, I mean, think of that. The father of IT audit. How big of a practice is that? That's several millions and millions of people. And he has a number of sayings that I quote from time to time, because Bill Murray is very, very wise. Um, but you know, he talks about the fact that we as a profession, um, we're quick to rush to judgment. We smell smoke. We think fire, not barbecue, right? But he also talks about how integrity is the only coin in our realm, and I've adopted that. Without integrity, we are nothing. Nothing.
So with that though, right? So we talk about ethics, and you talk about all the things that potentially, and I think about this from a military standpoint, being a veteran myself.
Yeah.
I despise security clearances, not because of what they are, but because of what they're not. When I look at people that can and will be the best for cybersecurity, I look at hackers, or not hackers, correction. I look at malicious attackers, right? Those people that don't have a certification, don't have a degree, don't have anything to their name, they just made one mistake and got caught. I look at the people that will never make a name for themselves because they live in the shadows and eventually get caught by the FBI, the CIA, NSA, any of those 3-letter agencies.
Right.
So with that being the case, though, they eventually get caught. They now have felony charges. They now have things that are going to hold them back for the rest of their lives. Sometimes can't even touch a computer. But these are the people that have been the best at breaking into things. I'm talking people that have broken into every 3-letter agency out there, and eventually overstayed their welcome and got caught. But because they got greedy or whatever the case may be, eventually they got caught. So they can no longer get a security clearance, right? They got a felony. Those clearances are no longer going to be allowed or allotted to them.
Right.
So when I look at ethics, I look at what these people have done, and I think of it in terms of they're the best for what you're trying to do, though. You pay them well. You
Sort
give
of.
them what they're deserved
Sort
because
of.
they are the best at what they do.
Yeah, and this is a question, you know, there's a saying, how many angels can dance on the head of a pin? The kind of discussions, and Mr. Mitnick was unrepentant apparently to his dying day. I am saddened that we have lost somebody who contributed so recently, with his corporation for security training, which was awesome. So I don't want to cast aspersions at the recently departed, but as far as I know, Mr. Mitnick was unrepentant to his dying day. And but he was the poster child for, should he be a CISSP, right? Or, and all of that. And that kept over and over and over and over and over again, right? To my knowledge, he never applied, but I don't have complete knowledge.
Why would he if
Why would he? Well, and actually, who I point out, I've had the opportunity to meet a few times. So fortunate, Ron Rivest. Yes, the R that put the R in RSA. That dude, so awesome for so many reasons. Uh, why would he apply? He doesn't need it, right? Dude, the guy wrote RC2, RC4. I mean, he is rock star famous. Why does he need to see ISSP? Doesn't, right? But Mr. Mitnick and occasionally Dr. Rivest were poster children for conversations about that. And I can tell you, it's not that the ethics committee says, oh, you did this, you're dead, you're done, like you're dead to me, I don't care, whatever. No, no, no. I mean, we, you know, for us to not believe in rehabilitation, for us to not believe in redemption and change lives, that is a bleak existence.
but
And so,
I think it goes beyond that though.
oh, of course it does.
Because you can only be redeemed, you can only find this repentance in cybersecurity if you're paid. Let's keep in mind in this industry, unless you're well known, unless you reach executive levels, illegal shit will always pay more than legal shit. Always.
Oh, of course it does. But
So if you want to
risk
keep these
reward,
people, exactly. If you want to keep these people that have been able to make ends meet and go above and beyond everybody else, you need to pay them. Whether if
yeah,
you don't have to
yeah,
worry about redemption, if you're paying them at
right.
least
Well,
a half to three quarters of what they would make for doing it
right.
illegally.
So I would hope that you have a good financial plan for your future, as should we all.
Yes.
Uh, I would trust that from time to time you may have somebody you ask for financial advice. Could that person make more through criminality? Probably, but some of those things come with silver bracelets, and that
Look,
violates
that's
my.
why I've never done anything illegal.
That's
I
it,
know
man.
I'll get caught, and I got a wife and
Right.
five kids. I can't afford that
Exactly.
shit.
Rule for living number 2 for me is I never want to use the phrase, my cellmate said.
Right.
I've had that rule since 1990, and it has served me very well. That's rule number 2. That is a very, very important rule. Um, yeah. So, I live my life so I never have to use the phrase, my cellmate said. Now, I ride a Harley. I do enjoy, like, the twisties. Do I occasionally, sometimes accidentally go over the speed limit? Sometimes, yes. I would point out those are misdemeanors. And I do definitely try to avoid criminality, and from time to time it comes up, right? I've
But that's
I've been
all of
asked
us.
to lie to auditors. It's like, hell's no, I'm not lying to an auditor. I can let me tell you what you just asked me to do, because I don't think I
Right?
heard you correctly. Like, let's have a conversation.
Let's holla at your boy. Let's figure this out real quick. Did you really just say that?
No, no, no. I couldn't have heard what I thought I just heard. There must have been like some air currents moving. Like, repeat. Yes. And I've been asked a lot of they like, and you say it, they go like, oh no, no, wait, you do this. Like, no, no.
Nah, if you don't get your PCI certification, that's on you, homie. That's on you. You
Yeah,
you didn't
yeah,
front the cash for what we needed. That's your fault.
yeah. Look, you signed the contract. You could have not signed the contract. You could have negotiated the contract. You didn't. So it's on you. Yeah.
Yeah.
But joking aside, because we are being a little facetious, um, this is a real important area where our profession gets to shine, and we're able to like, okay, you you ignored the rest of the advice. You went skating near the edge of the cliff. Now you find yourself like Bugs Bunny, or the Roadrunner. Actually, it would be Wile E. Coyote over the air, right? No longer on the ground. Now what? you know hey, I'm in deep trouble. What are we going to do? And I've been there a few times with instant response. you know Large chicken shaped nations are hacking in, and things are getting punked left and right. What do we do? Where do we go? What's up? Where is our moral compass? What should we do? What's now? and leadership in crisis is one of the areas in which our profession gets to shine. Um, it's not necessarily a fun place to be, but okay, secretly, chasing bad guys is actually fun.
If
Um,
you're chasing them and if the company allows you to chase them.
well, yeah, and that's actually a really interesting discussion I've had to have a few times. It's like, you actually have an incident. Okay, now we're talking about preservation of evidence because we need evidentiary chain, blah blah blah. Because it's going to court. They're going like, how are we going to sue large chicken shaped nation near Taiwan? And it's like, no 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 no. I'm trying to keep you out of court. You could get sued. There are two, there are two parties we're talking about. One of them we're not going to be able to sue. You? Oh yes, you can be sued. And how are you going to demonstrate you did the right thing at the right hour, making with the information you had the best decision you could? How are you going to demonstrate that if you don't have a chain of evidence doing the right thing? Blah blah blah. And when when things are on fire, uh, those are some tough decisions, man. Like, hey, I can't do that. I need a safe first. Or
Yeah.
I can't do that in our environment because our environment's compromised. Send an email to blah blah blah. Can't. They've compromised the email server. I need to go outside. Um, yeah, that's a real interesting time to build a resume.
So,
But yeah, um, I'm not glorification. I'm just sharing, right? Like being briefed by a three-letter agency and being told like,
that's fun. What are you talking about? That's great
yeah,
times.
well, like you should
I
come
don't trust any of them. So,
right. You
there's
should
that.
come armed to work, and we are in Ohio, a free-loving state, so we're gonna put that aside. But
I was going to
uh,
ask you before the show. I thought so. I thought so. I got one over there, but that's besides
yeah,
the point.
yeah. But yeah, I'm being told like I'm packing a 45 to work every day. My room got rolled 3 times by presumably the PLA, but chicken shaped country won't say who it was, right? Um, and a parable.
Well, before you get into
We
your parable, crypto,
all right, because this is some
because
freaky
we're gonna get into
freaky
that.
stuff.
But
Okay,
Actually Alana, I've had her on the show. She has done a super chat. I want to bring her question up as soon as possible. Thank you,
please.
Alana, for the $10. Speaking of criminality, is it worth the potential criminal prosecution for being a CISO? Seems like that's a trend we might be seeing. That's too much accountability, in my opinion.
Well, if done wrong, there could be prosecution. If done right, there is not. Um, you know, one of our jobs is to be the prognosticator of truth. Even if it's not a comfortable truth, even if it's not a popular truth, we have to be speakers of truth. See earlier discussion, integrity is our only coin in our realm. We have to like, and I'm sorry if this catches you at a bad time. I've had cancer 4 times, survivor. Thank you very much to my
Yo,
doctors. Yeah, I found out there's a stage 0. If you want to pick a stage, that's the one to pick. Um, but do you want your doctor to say, it's probably a cold. You're probably fine. It's nothing. Cloudy x-ray. Or do you want them to take you by the hand and say, look, you have cancer. We're going to get through this together. I'm here for you. And that's the role of a CISO doing leadership, to be able to look them in the eye and say what is unpopular in a tactful way, difficult communication challenges, and be able to have earned the respect of your peers, to not be chicken little, bringing everything to them, to be rational and presenting things not in cybersecurity like geeky terms, but in financial terms and business resiliency terms. And you've earned the capital to be invited to the C-suite in moment of crisis and say, we have a problem.
yeah.
I'm here for you. Let's do the right thing. That is really hard, but oh my gosh, rewarding.
As we're talking about everything going on, and I got a few more questions saved. Um, do you find that the CISO as a majority, is more the fall person versus someone that can actually secure an organization.
Sadly,
Even
sometimes
though
it
we
is
should be
true.
switching that to where they have
Well,
more of a voice, is it still they're the fall person versus
mhm,
the one of reason that's going to secure an org?
mhm. Let me see if I can get through this without shedding a tear. Howard Schmidt was the first cybersecurity czar. Friend of mine, we rode together on motorcycles. Loved the guy. I got to serve with him board of ISC2. But before all of that, he was CISO for Microsoft. Now, for those of you that aren't aware, before 2002, Microsoft's reputation for security was crap, right? Okay, the company I work for is 20% owned by Microsoft, but I speak the truth. So, just so you know, I potentially have a conflict of interest, but they'll tell you before 2002, their reputation on security was horrible.
Yeah,
And I got to be in the room when they made the announcement that created the entire program. They announced it at RSA 2021 in San Jose. And they announced the program that writing secure code was the manual that they released. They told everybody that put anything on the Windows disk for the next 90 days, you're not doing anything but security training. Think of what that costs. We're talking like people that do fonts and pictures, right? Let alone code. Huge cost and
that's crazy because
crazy.
secure coding, when you're looking at something like Microsoft, Word, Excel, Access, you name it, any program they're designing, you were talking about people that I've met. So I had some instructors in high school that had legitimately met the programmers for these applications.
Yeah,
And these programmers cannot speak to you. They have, because of how intelligent they are, because of what they know and how they do things, they
right.
legitimately, their minds don't work that way. They have zero, close to zero social skills in talking
I
anything
wouldn't go
but
that far, but wicked sharp geniuses, and they
yeah.
completely changed their culture around security in
So
90
so how
days.
did they go from make this shit work
Yeah,
to
right.
make this shit
I'm
secure
telling you,
and work?
tone at the top. Bill Gates, at the helm of Microsoft, wrote 3 memos that changed the course of Microsoft. And I wish I could remember number 3. I can't. But the first was he'd said this internet thing is a flash in the pan. It means nothing to us. And he wrote a memo saying, I was wrong. We're all in on internet. And the second memo was, I was wrong about security. From this moment on, we are about security. There was a third memo. I don't remember what it was. You can look it up. Um, Tone at the top, dude. I mean, if you don't have the C-suite on your side, it is a tough pull.
That is the
But
biggest thing with
um,
anything in security. You
it is.
have to have the
It is.
CEO and down.
It is. I will tell you, I was at JP Morgan Chase when they got breached. And I had just been brought in as the global auth architect. I owned the architecture for authentication authorization for it all, like ATMs, logins, blah blah blah, all that stuff. And this is a vast estate. I mean, I had come from a Fortune 20 firm with 120 billion dollars, and JP Morgan Chase had more employees doing security coding than my old company had databases or employees. Yeah,
J-
275,000
JPM, and
employees.
they got crushed. They got
They
crushed.
were they were spending more than $1 billion a year on security. Think about that. How many of you listening have $1 billion security budget? But they made a
Not
few
me.
mistakes. They made a few mistakes, and they got a hell of a lot better. Um, but I was there when it happened, right? And it was a few bleak days. But what was really cool, please don't sue me, JP Morgan Chase, because you can sue me into the Stone Age, and I'd like to retire. I'm telling a story that is really cool, right? Um, vast estate, right? They have 38,000 developers. 38,000 developers, and they're a bank, right? They transfer $3 trillion a day in funds
Dude,
with a
they got the
team.
highest. They probably got one of the highest PCI DSS freaking audits ever, and still, this is why I hate PCI DSS
Right.
because
Well, let me finish the story. Hang on.
there's
Because what was really cool was I was getting like calls from the CISO, our team. It wasn't just me. I was like, one of the guys in the team. What should we do? And I'm pulling out the list of everything I said was broke that we ought to fix, blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying I was like super smart. I was like, hey, here's something we ought to fix. But there's a lot of priorities in the bank, and suddenly this became like, oh, this is why we got hacked. And it was published why they got hacked. So it's a known thing. It was a password
Yep.
out on a website that HR had set up. Wasn't federated. I shared earlier, SAML. It's a thing. And somebody had manually synchronized their password, and that allowed somebody to. That site got punked by the Russians. They took it through, sold the information off. Somebody came in and said, hey, let's try all these passwords against all the SSH interfaces, and they got in. Elevation of privilege later, boom, done. You're into the stuff that talks to everything.
That's
So the cool thing was it came down from senior management. I might get the number wrong. We'll pretend this is right. But I'm going to say it's like within 90 days, if you can't do federated identity as a vendor, you're no longer a vendor. And they did it. Do you have any idea how many skyscrapers of lawyers that takes? I mean, good Lord have mercy. How many vendors does a bank across 6 continents have?
a lot.
Holy
Dude, I
crap!
deal with banks now. A lot. A
A
lot.
lot. Yes. And they did it. They did it. Dude, tone at the top is everything. The senior exec says,
Security has to be top down.
well, at that moment, they were shedding, stock price tumbling. Dealing from memory, I have been drinking. But I think it was like a $2.2 billion hit. That was big.
So
And they couldn't afford to play around, man. So this is
you
job
can't
one.
because they got to save their ass.
That's it.
They have to save their. Look at. All right.
And they have a pivotal place in the economy of dozens of countries. Like dozens of countries said, like, oh, we can't do this. Chase, can you do our treasury for us? Sure, we can. And crush it. They do.
So,
They do a great job, but they can't. Dude, if Chase goes down, and any top 5 bank,
if Chase
down,
if Chase or a lot of these, I'd say 3 to 5 banks go down. The global, it isn't just the U.S. The global economy, comes.
It's
to
a reset.
standstill.
It's not quite zombie movie level of reset.
Damn
right?
near,
but
damn near. It's just
bad day. Bad day. Yeah.
Oh,
So
it's crazy.
they did the right thing though. Tone at the top. What? And I can tell you, being there when the fit hit the shan, if you're picking what I'm throwing down, twice I literally had like the lights come down. I almost stroked out. Like the lights came down to a little pinpoint. Like I'm almost ready to die. And they came back, keep working. Because, oh my gosh, the stress was insane. In 4 hours, we need the plan. 45 minutes later, they call back. What's the plan? Do the thing. Okay, what are we going to do the thing? And
let's do it right now.
If you haven't, I didn't name it. If you haven't found it, Google this stuff. How shit happens, right? And it's a hilarious thing from like the 70s or 80s from the internet. And I got to read it to like the global CISO of JP Morgan Chase. And it's like the workers see it and this is shit and it stinks. And the next level up says, this is made of excrement. It's very strong. A level above that says, this is made of things that help plants grow and it promotes growth. And by the whole things at the top is this is good for our company. And that's how shit happens. Right. And I read I got to read that because he's like, how could this possibly happen? It's like, dude, you are like 8, 9, 10 levels removed from truth. And by the time it gets to you, all the filters have taken all the truth out. And he's like, okay. I don't know if any of you have ever got the opportunity to literally read something which curses to a CISO of a, you know, Fortune 100. That was an interesting day. Um, but yeah, um, you have to be able to speak truth. How could this have possibly happened? People are lying to you with they're well meaning. I've there's a something really important to consider as you drive change. Senior execs get it. We have to do security. We have to do the right thing. Boom, make us secure. The worker bees in the trenches will do whatever they're told. Middle management has a real big problem because 2, 3, 4 years ago, they said, this is where we should go. This is what we should do. This will solve our problem. And you're telling them what they said before was wrong. That creates a huge problem with driving security change. And it's not that they were wrong. It's that what was good enough before is no longer good enough. When I was there in '99 running the local, it was like a small liberal arts Catholic universities networks. Having a firewall, ding ding, you're secure. And that was enough. 2 years later, you have to have a DMZ.
So,
Few years
so I've
later,
got
let's talk about what a DMZ is, right? And
right.
it's not that it was wrong. It's that what before was a ceiling is now the floor, and it's now table stakes for execution.
So I want to touch on that, and then we got two questions, and then I want to get into ISC squared because there's some big things happening there
There
that I
are.
want to touch on. So
Yeah.
first and foremost, what you were talking about is the reason why things are the way they are is because computers and networks were initially built for blinky lights to blink, right? So it was made without security in mind. People never thought of the fact that people can break into this shit. They thought, oh, let's just get computers to talk, let's make networks talk. Security was an afterthought because they
Yeah.
never thought of the fact that when you look at DARPANET and ARPANET and all the things that
Yeah.
brought the internet to us,
Go back and
security
read.
was never
Yeah.
on
Read the
their
initial spec
purview.
for Telnet and FTP, and they said in the initial spec, this will not work on a network because of security. They
And see,
said it in
if
the
you
original RFC.
that's crazy because in my master's class, and I never finished my master's, but in the courses that I went through, and in a lot of the other things that I've researched, when I look at ARPANET and DARPANET and all these other things that I've looked into, and when you look at the internet and network connectivity, it was security was an afterthought. We just wanted the blinky lights to blink. So the fact
No?
that you know the RFC and have now informed me of that makes it amazing because it
Yeah,
means
go read it. Go
people
read it,
didn't
man.
fucking listen,
Yeah.
which blows my mind. But
They
anyway,
did. They did.
so I
And
digress.
yeah, we have things far longer than we ever thought we'd have them, right?
Exactly. So we
Yeah.
have networks that are now designed with security as an afterthought. So you're basically putting band-aids on freaking wounds that require
Right.
staples and stitches and everything else.
Do you know what the SLA is on SMTP for email delivery?
The SLA would
For delivery of
be
an email until you're out of compliance with the spec,
30 seconds.
7 days.
Are you serious?
Serious, 7 days. Because back long ago, like I ran a BBS. My modem would dial Chicago every night to transfer the packets, and those would get transferred from there to
True.
there
You
to there.
think of dial-up modems and it
Dial-up
hasn't changed
modems
since.
and
You're absolutely
and
correct.
long distance rates and all the rest of that shit, right? We built this entire infrastructure on 7
On
days, and like how often have
antiquated
you said
data,
like,
on antiquated technology that
yeah,
no longer
well,
exists and they haven't updated.
and we have these very very old protocols we've extended far longer than anybody ever thought they'd be around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely correct. And again, this gets back though to when you're looking at what we do, we are constantly evolving. For new people getting into the field, and this is what I always tell people,
Mhm.
you have to be willing to constantly learn. Because if you're
Yeah.
not, and again, there are certain aspects of IT and security that I've fallen out of. I have not done the research on because of what I do now and trying to
Can't know it all.
do what I do. It is very hard to keep up on everything. So
Yeah.
you find your niche in what you're good at, and you go from there.
Hone your
I love
craft.
blue team.
Yeah.
So I will look into logs, I will look into firewalls, I will look into SIMs and things of that nature. But if you like something, research it, become a specialist, and go for it. Now, saying that, I do have 2 questions here for you, Crypto Knight. First one is
I mean,
from Griffin InfoSec.
I did the flex.
I
Show
do.
them
I love the flex. So
Yes.
Crypto Knight has his name on a bottle of Maker's Mark whiskey. How many
Yes.
bottles got put out with that name on it?
7.
That is awesome. I need one of those. Probably won't get one, but I need one. Not to drink, just to keep, and just to say
Central
I
Ohio,
have
my brother.
this bottle of whiskey.
You're a 6-hour drive. Come on, hook it up. All right, keep on going. We only got like
Griffin
4 minutes.
InfoSec, speaking of ethics, what is your take on Mr. Mitnick's adventures, and should he be an example of not allowed due to their past?
You know, Mr. Mitnick.
Not to talk shit on the dead, because
no, and he is the second most notorious person I've shaken hands with him twice. And you know, once like met him in an elevator, Mr. Mitnick, hello, yes, like, but you know, he did some really good work over his last few years with security training. Really, really good. He was never really repentant of what he did, and for us to have a criminal justice system which believes that it's appropriate to lock people up, to have sanctions against them so they can learn from their mistakes and get better, we have to believe in redemption. And I encourage you to do a little research. You know, your Google foo can perhaps find it. His unpublished first chapter in his autobiography, which his editor says, dude, we can't publish this because it was so self-serving. It was a little crazy. Read it, and you'll see that he never really repented. He was sorry he got caught, not sorry he did it. And I'm not meaning to throw rocks at the man who found his niche later in life to deliver good to the community and delivered some really fabulous technology that I love. However, Mr. Mitnick never repented of his acts. So, yeah, the whole gray hat question: should I hire gray hats?
Oh, we gonna go to that one?
Well, that's the question that was asked of Griffin InfoSec. It essentially is, right?
So we're gonna hide that one. We're gonna go to James. What's your opinion of gray hacking, where you don't disclose to the company but sell hacks to bone brokers such as Zero Diem instead of bounty programs, ethical or not?
Well, you know, cockroaches serve a function in society, right? You know, without it, we not have that catchy Mexican tune, La Cucaracha. But so, hey, dude, if you find a vulnerability and don't take it to the organization and say, I found a problem, make it better, you're on the wrong side. You are not on the side of justice and freedom and light. You're on the other side, and you're on the Sith Lord side, and you need to change your tune. You know, there are all sorts of things I can sell. I choose not to because I love my family, I love God, I love my country, and I love my freedom. And
freedom is good. Freedom
is
is
good.
Definitely a good thing.
I should have worked on sort order there. I won't talk about that. But
the Sith Lord has really cool toys. You're not wrong. He really does.
I'm telling you, you know, Mark Twain had some really good quotes. You know, too much whiskey is nearly enough. One of them. But also, always do the right thing. You'll satisfy a number of people and bewilder the rest. And always tell the truth because it's too hard to remember as a liar or something like that, right?
Oh yeah, dude, lies are
dude,
hard, especially when you start stacking them.
Just tell the truth, man.
Never happen again.
Yeah, and I've had to be there where I'm like the doctor. You got cancer. I'm here to deliver the truth, and it's a hard truth. I need your attention. I need your focus. We're going to talk through this, and you might want to have an attorney present. But here's the hard truth, right? Was that fun? No, no, it was not. But afterwards, I could look myself in the mirror, right? Can
I look at gray hat differently than what they put in the comments though. To me, I look at gray hat as someone who finds the vulnerabilities without a bug bounty, without a contract, or with anything else. I look at someone, the Robin Hood hacker, Kevin Mitnick, interviewed him. I can't remember exactly his name,
right?
but basically, he would find vulnerabilities on the internet and then reach out and say, "Hey, I'll come in and tell you how to fix it, or I'll bounce. Those are up to you, but this is what I found." He'd go through a third party, but basically illegally, right? He would find these connections. He would make sure it was legit. He would do all these things. So it was technically illegal. He wasn't doing anything malicious. He was just finding ways into a network. It
Yeah, and
wasn't
this
until the New York
right.
Post that somebody pressed charges against him.
Mhm.
But his initial breach where he got his first story was there was an unmanned, unpatched, unmaintained proxy server. He found it just by surfing the internet and being curious and being like, "Hey, what the fuck's out there?" And he reached out through a third party. Third party got in touch. They said, "Yeah, show him, bring him in, tell us how to fix it." He literally sat there, took a knife, cut the cable to the proxy server because they no longer needed it. It wasn't used, but it
Mhm.
was a way into the network.
Right.
The New
Right.
York Post had come out and said, "We cannot be breached. We cannot," well, their words were, "We cannot be hacked." And he went in and said, "All right, bet." Do, do, do,
Well, but
do,
but
and
but here's
immediately
the
got
real
in.
thing. So so you know, the ends does not justify the means,
No.
right? And if the company doesn't want to take responsibility, and I've had that. I have found 2 0 days in my life. And there are two CPEs I've earned by watching videos where I wept because it touched me so deeply. One, oddly enough, by Violet Blue. When she says not safe for work, believe her. Okay. Oh my gosh. But she talked about harm prevention, right? And I do support her via Patreon because she's doing a really good thing for information security, bridging the gap. I like what she, I don't like all what she does, support all what she does, but we talked about harm prevention is very important. And Richard Thiem talked about Richard Thiem, Thieme, who got beaten up for 15 years for talking about UFOs. Turns out he was right.
I mean, the government just admitted there's aliens.
Yeah. And he got beaten up for 15, 20 years. But he talks about the harm of keeping secrets. And our profession has a high suicide rate.
Dude,
And it's something worth talking about. You have to have your center, you have to have ethics, you have to have a community of trust
preach into the
that helps
choir, homie.
support you. Yes. And what he talked about was the harm of keeping secrets. And I experienced that personal harm from finding that a major vendor had published documentation which complete BS on how to protect secrets in their infrastructure, and I pointed it out and got gagged by an order,
So we
and
have,
that
and
hurt.
I got here. James actually came up with a comment about that same topic, but I want to touch on this because somebody asked, "What is gray hat?" Gray hat is not waking up deciding whether you're going to be black or white. What a gray hat hacker is, or yeah, gray hat hacker, because there's black, white, and gray. There's also other colors. Some people put other colors on it, but basically, you work as a white hat, but will do illegal shit in your off time that doesn't necessarily align because you're doing things outside of contract. So you may not
Yeah,
be opposed to you may not be doing bug bounties, but you're finding things. And I do feel like the Robin Hood hacker was more gray hat and that he was
Right.
presenting this to the client.
But to me, that's like I sell drugs, but don't worry, I give half of it to feed starving children,
Hey,
right?
I'm just
I mean,
saying, look, hey, if
I'm
you're
telling
feeding
you,
starving children, you're feeding starving children.
yeah, but you are selling drugs in the playground, right? So I think gray hat. Not that I believe there's a black and white in perspectives, and maybe this is the way to end this was full circle with the
Hold up.
ethics
Gray
community.
Stockhouse has one here. Can you please put Crypto Night on a revolving appointment once every 1 to 3 months or so because story time is impeccable.
Done, done, and done.
But
Yeah.
I do, before you get into that, we do have one more question. I know you want to touch on Gray Hat, but James has another one. What about how they treat good guys delivering vulns to the companies, not taking vulns serious, or punishing the hacker for ethical disclosure? This is where I get into Gray Hat
Well, two
because they had
questions.
disclosed it ethically,
Right.
even though it was not under contract.
Yeah. So I think two questions. First of all, I have disclosed, and if they do nothing, this is the same thing as a consultant, right? And this is the difference a consultant employee. Consultant says, I have this thing you should do. And the company's like, yeah, whatever. And a consultant like, let me make sure you heard me. Let me be a little more articulate. Let me provide some documentation. And they go, yeah, whatever. Yeah. An employee gets to come back a third and go like, oh, hell's no, we're going to talk, right? Consultant goes like, okay, right? And that's where you are. If you have provided copious documentation on exactly what, make sure you're talking to the right entity, make sure they're authorized to act, make sure you provided clear and copious documentation, not just like I found the thing, but I did this, here's what I think, here's what I know, here are what I believe are the implications, and here are my recommendations. And if they walk away, you've done the right thing. Walk away next. Do you have the right at that point to go like, well, they're not doing the thing? Can I tell you, oh, but and this is a quandary because not doing the right thing, people might be harmed by your silence.
But
But
doing the right thing gets you put in jail.
that is not on you, right? If you see somebody being beaten up in a parking lot, there's the crap beaten out them, are you obligated to intervene? No. Does it hurt you to not intervene? Possibly, yes. Been there, done that. But do you have an obligation to go home to your family and to value the things that you value with your compass, your ethical moral compass? And do you have an obligation to report? I can't answer that question for you. The right thing to do, you will have to decide for yourself. And that's why the ISC2 code of ethics, which I think is probably one of the better ones out there. I am a little biased.
You
Um,
look, you're not
it's
just
not
a
a
little.
checklist.
You're as biased about ISC2 as I am about this being the best damn cybersecurity show
Best damn
and podcast
cybersecurity
ever.
show.
Let's just be honest.
Yeah, yeah. But does it have its flaws? Well, yeah, as does every system. Um,
Everything does.
yeah,
But
but it leaves the judgment up to you. You have to do the right thing at the end of the day, so you can evaluate and look yourself in the mirror and say, did I do the right thing? People for the PLA breaking into America because they've been told to do it as an officer in the army, they're doing the right thing for their country. Am I happy about it? No. Stop. But are they doing the right thing? The only difference between, attacker and patriot is who's writing the
what
history.
country you're doing it from?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I got this thing on it though, and then I want to get into ISC2, and it's only going to be a minute because we're at the top of the hour. But for me on this is companies not taking into consideration the fact that somebody has been willingly able to release this information to them without releasing it to the public. We have seen people, whether it's Uber and other organizations, that when vulnerabilities have been disclosed, have pressed charges versus saying, hey, thank you. I'm
Oh
not going to
yeah.
pay you. I'm not going to do all this, but thank you for the information.
see
will
large
secure
ride
this
sharing
order now.
company about that. Like, oh, that was our yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that
for
was
me,
bad.
that is why we are seeing a lot of ethical hackers, ethical pen testers, ethical cybersecurity people now go to the dark side. Because if you're going to press charges against me for releasing information to you, for finding a vulnerability, I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for kudos. I am literally pointing out, hey, I found this flaw. Here you go. This is how you fix it. And you're going to now press charges against me. Now I'm going to go to the dark side and I'm going to sit there and I'm going to
Yeah.
burn every single bridge you have and I am going to release it all.
Yeah,
This is
but
the problem.
yeah, that is a problem, and the ends don't justify the means. A organization not doing the right thing doesn't obviate your responsibilities um, to do the right thing on your own. And I can't tell you the right decision there.
That's all on you. That's your
I
moral
believe on
compass.
ethical disclosure. If the company doesn't do ethical disclosure,
If you've disclosed it to
there are
them
some
and
other
they have
means,
not done
right?
anything, then guess what? I'm going to sell that shit for every penny it's worth.
Yeah, I think there are probably other avenues. I can't say I can describe the one right avenue because every
What would be
situation is
the
different.
avenues? Because I've now sat there, I've put out a POC on Twitter, I've told the company, I've done all this shit. I told the company 2-3 months
You
ago,
could have a
and then it took 2-3
conversation.
months. I put something out
Yeah.
on Twitter, it's still there.
hmm You could have a conversation with one of their top 10 customers.
There's
I mean, there are
I
other
get what you're
venues,
saying, but the
right?
problem comes down to, and I do, I love this conversation. I love ethics. Ethics have always been a huge thing
It
for me.
is, man.
I love ethics.
Yeah,
But
yeah. So,
when I look at this,
right.
you put this out, and ethical disclosure is what, 60 days? I think for most companies, 60 or 90 around there.
hmm
So I've done this. Now at 91
Usually,
days,
usually a year.
you haven't done shit. I can
Usually a
still get
year.
in
I
and
mean,
access everything.
I've seen some catastrophic stuff. How long can we go? We're at 8:03. I'm telling you,
It's
I can
my
give you
show. I can do what the fuck I want, so it doesn't
boom dynamite. So,
matter.
one of the coolest shows I ever saw at RSA. Full disclosure, I am on the program committee, so I am biased. Um, is cryptography research, which I already mentioned. They came forward and they had discovered that a number of devices, when in airplane mode with no network connection, were leaking keys such as you could pick it up with a sled or a DirecTV satellite dish that had been sent to the junkyard you could get for like $5. You could take that into a digital signal processor and you could pull keys off of it where you could get symmetric keys within a few packets. You could get asymmetric. We're talking RSA stuff, man.
Hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up.
Within a few
In
packets.
airplane mode,
Okay,
it
so
should not send anything.
dude. Okay.
Technically, should
Ah,
not send any data
all right.
across the air at all.
What are the three most important things to do as a mobile producer of electronics? Cheap, powerful, light. Those three forces work you out of secure. So what they found is
Can I tell you why? And this is why. And I'm gonna stop
yes,
you for a sole purpose. This
yes,
is why non-removable batteries have been a problem.
yes.
Because the best way
Oh,
to secure your device was literally power off, remove the
wait for
battery, and let the
yeah.
BIOS and the motherboard battery
Wait, wait,
die.
wait. Wait for story 2, my friend.
We're
Wait
gonna
4
hold
minutes
up.
for
We
story
got
2.
no. You are saving your stories because we got people
Oh,
that want you back on for stories.
oh, dude. I have a dude who worked for a very, very large software firm who had his phone rolled 2 different ways while off.
So off, no battery removed. No battery removed, just off.
Off.
iPhone or Android.
Will not disclose. Saving that for another day.
Yes.
You gotta
all
see
right,
the, you
I'm
gotta
up
see
for
the
it.
sequel, my brother.
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
up for it. So we are at
Yeah.
8:05.
Real
I'm getting you
story.
back on. We're gonna do a sequel. We're at
Okay.
8:05. So this is what I want to do.
Sorry,
You
Space
at
Tacos.
ISC2 as a board on the board of directors
Yep.
have been they are doing huge things, and I am going to put
They are.
this link in chat. But I
Please.
want to discuss in one story, one paragraph, however you want to do it. How is ISC2 helping newcomers come
Oh
into the
man,
field?
this is a great story. We started many, many, many years ago. In fact, when I was first on the board, I want to say 2011, but I'm old. I drink. I forget. Um, and we worked on DEI at that point, recognizing that we needed a space for minorities and women in our profession, that we were out of round. We needed to correct. Blah blah blah. Started that journey more than a decade ago. Now, and we started the workforce study that we've done to help us understand the movements in the organization. And I can share with you that the under 30 crowd, we've achieved gender parity in cybersecurity. Boom! Love it. Love it. Now we're saying, like, but man, we got this big gap. What do you do about the gap? We got the cybersecurity skills gap. Everybody's saying gap, gap, gap. So what I really love is we have started the 1 million in CC program. Are you sharing the link, my brother? Could you share that?
I will put it out. All right, you just put it there. So let's
All
do
right.
Control V. Hold up, wrong thing.
Okay. There is a commitment that ISC Squared has done where we are giving away 1 million certifications, a million, specifically targeting disadvantaged communities, and giving away the education, the training, and the certification to disadvantaged communities to close the gap. And oh my gosh, is it growing explosively? I can't tell you, like I literally can't tell you, NDA, but the numbers are huge. Like beyond our wildest expectations, we are starting to close that skills gap with people getting their CC. I myself sat for the CC, didn't study for it, so I'm going to go into
What's
it
the
cold.
CC again?
That is the certified in cybersecurity
Okay,
certification,
okay. So it's
right?
it's ISC2's equivalent, basically, of Google's course.
I wouldn't say that. It's an
I would
entry level.
not necessarily equivalent, but it's a
It's
basic cybersecurity
It is
certification.
truly entry level, but it is not easy. I mean, they were like going,
No,
"Oh man,
no.
they're asking about that." Like, okay, bring it
So
on. Like,
what's the cost of that certification?
um, free
I
first
asked.
million, first
That is
million in
that
for
is why I
free.
asked, because cost
We're putting
plays
skin in the game,
plays a factor.
skin in the game, my brother. We're saying like, okay, this is gonna hurt a little bit, but we have to pump this up for the future generation. We have to get the next generation in cybersecurity. There is a barrier that's been created, and we have to break down that barrier for the next generation. So the 1 million in CC, um, we created the CC. It has all the rigor that you would expect of a professional level certification, with all the rigor of the IC squared. We're top of the game as far as that goes. I could talk for hours about that. Can't. We're out of time.
Andrea, did you get the CC? I see it. It's not easy for the CC. I had to study for it.
It is.
Tell me you
It
got it.
is.
I believe I've seen a lot of her posts. Andrea out here, Andrea Myler, one of the most prominent warriors I have right now, has been doing amazing things, as well as Space Tacos. Please tell me you got the CC and can tell people about it, because
Andrea,
she's absolutely amazing.
there you go. Cheers to you. I also went and sat for the CC opponent. I didn't use the free one, because I and I would encourage you, if you have the means. Um, I don't call myself rich, but compared to many nations of the world, I am.
Oh, me and you both.
Yeah. So I said, dude, I'll pay the money, right? Because I don't
I
want to take a seat that needs to be kept by
does
somebody,
All right, all right. Time out.
dude.
Does the CC require CEUs?
I should know that as a board member, but I don't know that question.
The
Answer to
the,
that
the
question.
reason I asked that question is because that is the hardest problem with me, and
Oh,
Andrea does have the
dude.
CC, so that is awesome. The
Okay,
reason that's
you
the
didn't
hardest
know.
problem with me, I have a CISSP. as a CISSP, I have to find, just like Sands, I have to
Oh,
find, where does this
dude,
match? Where does this
you
go?
you have
Blah, blah,
come to the spring well of joy, my friend. Because
blah.
I heard this when I was on the board before of like, oh, I have to travel, it takes money, blah blah. So I started out on Twitter, nay X now, hashtag CPE for free. Now I stopped after posting about
But
25
that
to 30,
requires me to watch videos.
and you want it for free? Come on, dude. Uh, Free, free, free,
Free
free,
99.
free, free. I posted like 30,000 CPEs and stopped. Almost all the links are still good. Dude, irongeek.com?
Yeah.
Irongeek.com still has
Hey,
like,
can we get my show to be on the CPE thing?
dude, I just earned a CPE. Done. Booyah. The biggest thing with CPEs is track it every month. If you have a weekly status report, monthly status report, whatever it is, you do that, you track your CPEs. Boom, done. Join
I'm
your
just
local
saying, I do
ISC
a
Squared
weekly
chapter.
show. It's just here every
That's
week.
it.
So if people are watching or
That's
whatever,
that's
they
52
should get CEUs
CPEs.
from it.
That's 52 CPEs, my brother.
That's what
Uh,
I'm saying.
ISC Squared chapter, ISSA chapter, ISACA chapter, ASIS, OWASP tool. You can okay. The funnest way you can earn CPEs, not free, firearms training.
No,
Ah,
you know how I got
ah.
CPEs
You
for the
know what I'm
longest
saying?
time? The
Firearms
best way I
training.
had CPEs for the longest time was
Yeah.
Hack the Box. I literally
Okay,
cleared through
that's a
all
great
their active
conference.
boxes and got all my
I
CPEs
never
covered for
made it
like
there.
3 years.
That and summer camp, never been, but the particular joy of being an NRA pistol instructor
Wait, you
and
can get CPEs from going to a range?
oh hell, well, not going to a range, taking a course. So I took a
Bet,
course
I'll
in
do it.
I took a course in knife fighting. That's why I carry, the Delica.
Well, yeah.
And well yeah. And that was 8 hours CPEs.
Dude,
Uh
bet. All right. So
physical
everybody out
security.
there, go to weapons ranges of all types and you get CPEs.
Not of all types, of reputable types.
Training.
Yes.
Weapons
Yes.
trainings
Yes, my
of
friend
all
Greg
types. Not
Ellifritz is
ranges,
is
training.
awesome. Yes. And it's the fun. I'm not saying it's the best way to earn CPEs, but it's the most fun.
Who cares about the best? We just care about fun.
Well, you should try to align it to your career and what you need and close your gaps, etc. Right?
Oh, you're
Yeah, I
getting
know.
too technical.
But I'm telling you, my local ISC squared chapter is $20 a year and includes 2 beers a month. Dude, you try to find
What
any
about
other thing.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu does that count?
I'm
Only
telling
you,
you.
AI.
And
Only you.
And I get 24 CPEs a year for going and drinking beers and talking security and sharing stuff and sharing this works, this doesn't, latest hack, latest compromise, how we do, blah, blah, blah. And it's
So,
awesome.
all right. So
Awesome.
look, we are well over the top of the hour. Crypto night. I did share the link for ISC squared. I
Thank
want
you.
you any, any and all information that you can give to newcomers in cybersecurity. Please drop that knowledge right now.
All right. So there is always the challenge of I can't get hired until I get experience. I can't get experience unless I get hired, right? How to break in. All right, there are lots of paths in. If you are exceedingly young, not to get you started, don't have a mortgage, no those obligations, there is no better training than military training. Okay, dude, straight up. I wish I could. I am medically unqualified, being flat-footed, colorblind, and nearsighted. Triple trifecta, can't do it. But if you can qualify, no better training, and you will emerge from the military not only with discipline, self-discipline, sense of worth, and actual skills to apply, but you're going to have at least a secret, if not top secret clearance, which is super valuable. Not all of us can do that. So, how to break in otherwise? First of all, the CC program. I told you about that. www.iscsquared.org/1MCC. Free training, free certification. Go, free. Other than that, tons of nonprofit organizations need help. Local library, local Boy Scout, Girl Scout troop needs people to talk to them about how to keep safe on the internet. See also Center for Cybersecurity and Education that the ISC2 runs for protecting children online, seniors online, training offered there, valuable training. You can become an instructor, get that training, gain experience. Go to your local university, go to your local nonprofit. I want to help you with cybersecurity. Done that before. It's actually pretty cool. They got breached. I helped them out. Talked to the FBI. Got the thing going back up again. Boom, done. That is super valuable training. It doesn't have to be for pay. Should it be for pay? Well, sorry. Yeah, it should. Better get paid. But if you can't break it any other way, that's a great way in. Hey, go work for an organization. Look very carefully that will pay for your education. If you don't have the education, if that's the barrier, work for usually Fortune 500, Fortune 1000. They usually pay for your college education. Go to work for them, flipping tacos, whatever you have to do, but get your bachelor's, get your master's. So I got my MBA. Didn't cost me hardly anything because my company paid for it. So take those paths, and beyond anything, we heard it from the cyber warrior. You have to be committed and study up. Dude, just hour a day, plug away. What's happening? What's next? Sharpen the saw. Amazon, Google, and Microsoft Azure all have free training. Tons of really good training. Certifications usually cost something. Training is for free. First 30 days, you usually get a free environment to make your own pop servers, everything else, do everything else you want. Go with a plan, do that. 99.90, right? Boom, done. You now have training on Google platform, Azure platform, AWS platform, and you have the essentials of cybersecurity, free training. Do that. That will help you find a mentor, find your compass, and I wish you the best.
Definitely. And Crypto Knight, thank you for all of that wisdom and knowledge. And everybody loves you and they want you back on. So we are definitely going to get you back on the show here in the coming months. But as you know, and everybody here in chat knows, look, you need to invite more people on. It's all for the newcomers that need their voice heard. So we're going to get them heard. But Crypto Knight, thank you for being here. Before I go, I just
My
want to say,
pleasure.
so they finally came in. So I gotta show it. Hold up. Where's it at? Right here. So I did order so y'all could see.
Wait, merch? You got the merch?
Hold on, I got more.
You got Thor's Day?
I got Thor's Day. I got this one.
I drink and hack things. Nice. Yes.
And we got Security Happy Hour. Hold up, we gotta get the back.
Whoop whoop.
Stayed
for the conversation.
Stayed for the beer.
Or
alcohol. I forget what it says on back.
But either way. You got 60 seconds for me?
I got 60 seconds. Go.
We're in year 21 of the local organization, which is now the ISC2 chapter. Started with two of us in a bar that had an MBA program, Masters of Beer Appreciation. Came in every month, got their pint, got a certificate, got a mug, blah, blah, blah. We said, we should do this more often. Invite a friend. Before we knew it, a year out, we had like 12 people. Next year, we had 100 people. We had a charity event, boom, done, professional association. All about community and sharing. You can do it. I did it. Anybody can do it. Reach out, find a friend, create a community, invite more friends, and share.
Yep.
That's the secret, man. Chatham House rule.
Sharing is the secret. Networking and sharing is the secret of cybersecurity.
It is.
But saying that, I love everybody that's been here in chat. Look, hey, if you want to come back, tip after. If you want to do super chat, you can do it right now while I'm running the end screen. Otherwise, thank you, Crypto Knight. Thank you, everybody who's been here. I love you all. And you are all my warriors. You're all my family. And I'll see you all next week for another amazing episode of Security Happy Hour.
Thank you, Derek.